Good morning. This is Kirsten Howe with Absolute Trust Counsel. Thank you for joining me. This is my third Facebook Live event, so in theory, I should be getting a little bit better at it. We'll see. You be the judge. I have a really important topic to go over with you today, so I'm real glad you're here. But before I get to that, I just want to let you know that at the end, I'm going to share with you again the special coronavirus shelter-in-place offer that we're running at my firm. So stick around, it's worth listening to. The other thing is at the end, we are going to answer questions. So if you have a question, what you have to do is you go to the, I guess it's called comments or something like that. Over on my screen, it's on the left side of my screen and it says write a comment. So you can enter your question and I will read it and answer it, I hope, unless you're really trying to stump me. Okay, so let's get going. All estate planning attorneys, as far as I can see right now, are writing about how important it is to get your affairs in order during this very horrible time that we're dealing with. Estate planning in the time of coronavirus. I see it all over the place. We're all writing about it, myself included. We just put out our quarterly client newsletter, and I know we had an article in there about coronavirus planning. And I did these, like I said, this is my third Facebook Live event, and the other two were also about how important it is to do planning right now. So I'm no exception. We're all talking about it. But today might take a slightly different slant on it. Today, I really want to focus on healthcare workers and their families. So if you are a healthcare worker or you are a family member of a healthcare worker, I think you'll get a lot out of this. Anybody will, but I'm focusing in particular on those folks. I know that you're all extraordinarily busy. You're probably overwhelmed and you work all day and you get home after a long day and then you have to go through your decontamination process, whatever that is. And there's not a whole lot of extra time. That's your most valuable commodity these days. And I get that. And we're all so grateful for the work that you do. But it's very important that you hear this and take it to heart. Information is changing so rapidly. I don't need to tell you that. Every day we wake up and it's a different story. Should we wear masks? Shouldn't we wear masks? Are we going to be able to get tested? Are we not? And how long are we going to be stuck this way? It's a totally different world. Things are changing fast. A lot of things about this disease we just don't have enough data yet to understand. We're still trying to figure out how it works, who is getting sick, why are they getting sick, how does that even work? I say we, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not kidding myself. I just mean the world in general. But things are changing, and one of the things that I've been reading and hearing about in the last week is the high incidence of infection among healthcare workers. And, depending on the location, in some locations, it's as high as 15%, 17%. I think the highest one that I saw was 20%. So 20% of the positive cases in some locations are healthcare workers. And we don't know why that is. It's possible, of course, that it's at least partly due to the fact that healthcare workers have more access to testing. They kind of push them to the front of the line because it's important to know if your doctor or your nurse who's treating you has COVID-19. So that might be part of it. It might also be that the more repeated, prolonged exposure one has to the virus, the more likely one is to become ill with the virus. And it could be a whole bunch of other things that I can't think of. That's not my area. The point is we don't know, but healthcare workers are contracting this virus and they are getting sick. I'm sure you all remember Dr. Li Wenlang, who was the doctor in China who originally kind of started putting together this mystery of patients showing up in his hospital with a weird respiratory ailment that he couldn't quite figure out. And he reached out to some colleagues and tried to share with them what he was seeing. And of course, he got in a little bit of trouble with the government in China. But as you probably know, he died. He contracted the illness and he died, and he was only 34 years old. So, you know, this is serious. Healthcare workers are getting sick and they're dying, and it's serious. And I'm not talking to you today just as an estate planning attorney. You know, as an estate planning attorney, my job is to make sure everybody in the world is prepared, has done their planning. But I'm also talking to you as the mother of a healthcare worker. My son and his fiance both are doctors in Southern California. So this is very near and dear to my heart, and I worry tremendously about them every day. So I am hoping that the healthcare workers on this video event will take this to heart, that your family members care about you and they want what's best for you, and they want you to do what they need you to do. So I'm going to talk about that right now. You know, things are happening fast in this world. If you get the virus, you could go from being kind of sick to being in the hospital needing oxygen, to being in the ICU, to being on a ventilator in a real short period of time. And you know, the healthcare workers who are watching this probably know that. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But the point to consider is that if something like that were to happen to you, there's nothing that can be done at that point from a legal perspective. So a lot of times, you know, we have clients who are diagnosed with an illness, maybe even a terminal illness, and almost always there's at least some time to get some planning done. It's very rare that someone gets a diagnosis and there's no time to do anything. You know, people get a cancer diagnosis and it might be a real bad news situation, but they still have, you know, a week, a month, some amount of time to get done the things that they kind of put off in the past. And I've been to lots and lots of hospital rooms, lots and lots of nursing home rooms to help my clients get their estate planning done in those kind of crisis situations. But this is a totally different crisis. And as healthcare workers, I'm sure you can appreciate that, you know, once you are into the system with a COVID-19 diagnosis or suspicion, you're going to be on your own. Your family is not going to be able to come visit you in the hospital. They aren't taking visitors in hospitals these days. Your lawyer is not going to be able to come and help you do an estate plan, do what you want to do. It's too late. The only thing you can do is plan ahead. So I'm really encouraging you to consider that. Now, what am I talking about when the title of this event is Coronavirus Estate Planning Triage. So what I'm talking about is what are the things that you absolutely have to do, given that you have no time extra in your life between your work and trying to deal with your family and take care of any other obligations you have. There's no time. What are the bare minimum? How are we going to triage this situation? The very first thing, you need to have an advanced healthcare directive. And as medical professionals, I'm sure you can appreciate that. This is a document that enables somebody who you name in writing to make medical decisions for you, to interact with your doctors, to just make good choices for you. if you haven't named somebody to do those things, the doctors will do their best, but they will do what they've been trained to do, which might not be what you would have wanted. And it's so important that you have somebody there to advocate for you and to make those choices for you if you can't, if you've become incapacitated. So having that in place, that's the very first, the primary thing that you need to have. And I want to say that you need to make sure that the people you name in your healthcare directive have a copy of it, because I've been in situations before where I get a call like on a Saturday afternoon. I need to go to the hospital. My mom's in the hospital and I can't find her healthcare directive. Can you send me a copy? So, you know, those situations are few and far between, but it can happen. So you need to make sure you have one. You need to make sure the important people have copies of them. The next thing that goes with the healthcare directive is what I call a HIPAA waiver. So you know that in our country, we have laws that protect our medical information, that keep our medical information private. And what that means from the perspective of a doctor or a nurse or a hospital is if you have not in writing released your medical care providers to share medical information about you, they can't share it with anybody. It doesn't matter if you're married to them. It doesn't matter if it's your mom or your child. It doesn't matter. So this piece, this HIPAA waiver, very important. And again, you need to have it. It needs to tell the doctors who are they allowed to talk to, who are they allowed to share your private medical information with. And also you need to give it again to the people who need to have it. You know, you need to make sure the people you've named in there have a copy of it. Because remember I said, if you get into the medical system with this coronavirus, and it can happen very quickly, nobody on the outside is going to be able to visit you. And if they try calling the hospital where they think you might be, they're not going to be able to get any information. So this is very important, and I'm asking you to consider how that would be for your family. If you suddenly didn't come home from work and they know what hospital you work at, but they call there asking about your condition and where are you, and the hospital has to say, sorry, we can't share that information with you. So this is very important, and I don't think people really think about it, have considered it carefully enough. So, so just take that to heart. And the third piece is a durable power of attorney. You need to have a durable power of attorney. If you're gone, you can't act for yourself. This would allow somebody else to take care of your daily responsibilities, to, you know, make sure your rent gets paid on time, to make sure your insurance gets paid on time, to all the things that you do legally and financially. You need to authorize somebody else to do those things if you're not able to. So those three things that I just talked about, the healthcare directive, the HIPAA, and the durable power of attorney, those are part of a basic incapacity plan that every single one of us over the age of 18 should have. Today I'm talking to the healthcare workers, but this is applicable to all of us. And I'm just going to remind you that over the age of 18 means your kids. So if you have, you know, a lot of folks have college age kids who've come home all of a sudden, and they're in the house, and those kids also need these documents. And the reason they need them is if something happened to them, you can't call up and ask about it. You can't do anything for them. Your parental rights are over. When they turn 18, you're done legally being their parent. You may not want to tell them that, but it's from a legal standpoint, you're kind of stuck. So we all need to do this, and you healthcare workers out there in particular, today I'm getting on your case. You need to do it. The last thing, those things, all of these things are something that you can learn more about if you want to. We have a lot of resources on our website, absolutetrustcounsel.com. There's a tab there called resources, and there are lots of things there, but the thing I'm thinking of right now is we have a guidebook called A Will Is Not Enough, and that has some information about all these things that I'm talking to you about today. So check that out if you want to learn more. The last thing that is part of a triage estate plan would be if you have a minor child or minor children, you need to designate a guardian. Who would you want to raise those children if you weren't around anymore? And you need to do that in writing. And this is maybe even the most important thing if you're a parent. And I get that, and I have lots of clients who have a hard time with this, even picking a guardian. It's an overwhelming decision, but it's so important. If you don't, the judge who is responsible for appointing your guardian isn't going to know anything about what's important to you, and the judge is going to do whatever the judge does without any guidance from you. So you need to let the judge know, this is the person that I would appoint. And you can also write in there the reasons why, the things that make them a good guardian candidate. So those four things: healthcare directive, HIPAA, power of attorney, and if you have a minor child, a designation of a guardian. You need to get that done. And so I'm again going to appeal to you as a family member of a healthcare worker, and also as an attorney, because that hat's always on my head. We've so many times seen families struggling with something like this, not in the coronavirus context, but trying to help an incapacitated family member with inadequate planning. And it's extraordinarily frustrating. It takes an awful lot of effort, an awful lot of work, and that usually translates into an awful lot of expense, and it takes a lot of time. So we know that healthcare workers are a different breed. They are kind of programmed to help other people, even sometimes instead of helping themselves. And that's what makes you great at what you do. We all admire you and appreciate you, but you've got to do this for yourself. And I'm going to suggest that really at the bottom line, you're doing it for your family. So maybe that will help you think of it as something worth doing. It's not just about you, it's about your family. We are closed. My office is closed. We're not there in the office in Walnut Creek, but we are open for business. We're helping people with these kinds of things all the time. Lots and lots right now, it seems. We're doing trusts, we're doing wills, we're doing these triage estate plans for people. So we are here, we can help you. We're happy to help you, and you can call us 925-943-2740. You can go to our website, absolutetrustcounsel.com, and go to the contact us page, and you'll send us an email, or there's a calendaring function in there, and you can just go ahead and schedule, an appointment right on the website. So I encourage you to check that out and to do what's best for you and for your family. I did say I was going to share my coronavirus shelter-in-place offer with you, so here we go. We are doing comprehensive, complete estate plans. So I'm talking about wills, trusts, powers of attorney, healthcare directive, HIPAA, for people during this shelter-in-place order, which currently my understanding is in Contra Costa we are obliged to stay in our homes until May 3rd. So for that time, we are offering those plans, the comprehensive plan for a single person, $2,500, a married couple, $2,950. That doesn't apply to absolutely everyone. If your situation is much more complicated, you know, you have a special needs child, you have a business, you have um, a blended family, you know, there might be reasons why I can't fit you into that package, but I designed it so that almost everyone can fit into that package. So the way you find out if we can apply that to you is you give us a call. Thank you for your time. I am going to now switch over, I think, to my questions. Oh, here we go. Okay, so bear with me. If you've watched these before, you know I'm kind of an idiot when it comes to the technology. Okay, first question, how does someone make sure that their sibling doesn't end up as the guardian of their children, especially when they have opposing religious views to themselves? Okay, well, that's a good question. I like that question because it shows that you're thinking through that whole guardianship idea. You know, how do you even pick a guardian? It's got to be someone who would raise your kids the way you want them raised. And you're never going to find someone who's perfect, but some things are deal breakers and some things aren't. And it sounds like this religious idea is a deal breaker for this person. So the way you do it, we were talking earlier about designating a guardian. So in writing, you're going to say, this is who I want to be a guardian of my children. And we do this for all our clients who have minor children. And you sign it and you date it. And my recommendation is it's a good idea to also include the reasons why you want this person to be the guardian. And if you have feelings about someone who you don't want to be the guardian, put that in there too. Like I said, a guardianship is a judicial process. The person that you name will then go before a judge and ask to be appointed. They need to be appointed by a judge. So the more information you can give to the judge that would help the judge make that decision, the better. So I hope that answered your question. Okay, next question. Where should people keep their physical estate planning documents? Okay, so that's one of the most common questions I get in my first meeting with new clients. If they're asking questions, they very often will ask that question. So in our practice, we put the estate plan into a big blue binder and it's all organized and it's got tabs and all of that. But the question obviously is, you know, what do I do with that? So my very first bit of advice there is don't put it in a safe deposit box. Even if you have one that's big enough to accommodate this big binder, that's the wrong place for it because, you know, it's a safe deposit box. The bank only lets you into your safe deposit box. If something happens to you, it's very hard for somebody else to get into your safe deposit box. And that's a whole other topic. We can talk about that on some other in some other way, but don't put it in your safe deposit box. I would say you're going to keep it at home. Keep it someplace where it can be found by the people you want to find it. I recommend that you tell the people who need to find it, you know, we did estate planning. It's our documents are in a big blue binder. We keep them on the closet shelf in the bedroom, you know, whatever makes sense for you, but tell that person who's supposed to be your trustee or supposed to act as your agent under a power of attorney. And as I said, if you have a healthcare directive, you definitely want to make sure that that person has a copy of your healthcare directive. And also your doctor, make sure your doctor has a copy of your healthcare directive. I also recommend that you have an extra copy of everything that you keep maybe in some other location. You know, if you have a job, you could keep an extra copy in your desk drawer at work. We keep extra copies of all of our clients' documents, but it's not a bad idea to have your own extra copy. Okay, so thank you. That was a good question. Okay, another question. What if someone feels very strongly about being cremated, but they're worried that their family will disregard their wishes? What can they do? Okay, so the person who decides what's going to happen to your remains, and we call that the disposition of your remains. The person who gets to decide that, there's a statute that tells us who gets to decide that. So the number one person who has priority over everyone else is the person that you name in your advanced healthcare directive. So we've been talking about advanced healthcare directives for purposes of making medical decisions and, you know, advocating for you if you're in the hospital and you can't speak for yourself. But they also get to decide what happens to your remains. So my suggestion is that the best defense is to pick someone who you know will honor your wishes and to make sure that they know what your wishes are. A lot of times our clients actually write those wishes in their healthcare directive. There's space to put in optional things, and oftentimes our clients will write, I wish to be cremated, or they'll even write, I wish to be cremated and I've already made arrangements, you know, at Trident or whatever it is. So your best bet is to name someone in your healthcare directive and make sure that they are on board with what you want to happen. Okay, well, I think we're just about out of time. I'm going to remind you of our very special shelter-in-place coronavirus offer. $2,500 for single estate plan, $2,950 for married. I encourage you to take advantage of that. It's a pretty good deal. I'm planning to do these Facebook Live events every Thursday at 11:30, so as not to interfere with you listening to our governor at noon every day. So check it out next week. And thank you so much for joining me today. And stay healthy, and stay safe. Okay, thanks so much. Bye.